You've been enjoying the sunshine then? Been out and about in it?
I mean, the odd dog walk in it. Stephen gets absolutely shattered when it's like he's just absolutely panting away and sleeps all afternoon. So that's nice and easy. Keeps him peaceful.
Nice.
Yourself, Tom? That was a leading question, but
Yeah, been out and about. Can work from it. I've 3D printed myself a visor for my laptop so I can work out in the sunshine.
is there nothing you're not going to print off?
He's gone mad, Scott. He's gone absolutely mad. Anything and everything.
If any listener wants to send in any ideas and challenges, Tom, print this.
Give him 5 minutes in your car tomorrow, and then I bet you he'll print 3 different things to go in your car before we go to Yeovil.
Yeah, what car have you got?
He's gonna look up the spec and look for optimization prints.
Yeah. You obviously need a tray if you're, in the back, sitting there, nicely.
Oh, I could do that. Yeah, I can make one.
Do we need to bring bibs?
No, that's okay. I will clean the car before we go in it as well.
Okay.
If we're not taking it, but yeah.
I can make a car seat snack tray if you want.
You bring whatever you're comfortable with, Tom. Whatever you think. A bit more plastic to
Exactly.
just to destroy the environment in an EV car. Yin yang.
He needs to level the playing field, is what he needs to do. He needs to offset all of that. He needs to sort out your carbon emissions by creating some carbon emissions.
Emissions of my own, yeah.
So exactly. I can take full responsibility for all those little penguins floating lifeless in the oceans, Tom.
Well, on that note, shall we get started?
Happy summer, everyone.
Oh dear. Roll the intro. Hello, everyone, and welcome to New Dice Please, the bite-sized Blood Bowl podcast brought to you by the people at Blood Bowl Live. My name is Chris. Joining me this week, as always, Mr. Scott Bryant. Scott, what is your optimum Formula One car and driver combination?
Second time. Hello, Christopher. Good evening. Hello, listener. Not being the F1 aficionado like yourself, my driver and livery and car of choice would be Graham Hill. And Graham would be driving a 1977 Lotus John Player Special with the black and gold livery. Thank you very much.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Joining us also, Mr. Tom Hovell. Tom, same question.
I'd have to be Senna in the McLaren. Have to be.
In the MP44?
Of course, yeah.
Again, very, very good, very good. I'm gonna go for I think I'm gonna go for Lewis in the W13, which wasn't the one he won the World Championship with, I'm pretty sure, but it was the one that he did his incredible Brazilian Grand Prix last to first. Absolute smashing best race I've ever seen. Yeah, I'm going to go for that combination.
I thought you were going to say Max Verstappen. I heard you love him, Chris.
Oh,
did I hear him wrong?
Yeah, you did. Anyway, okay. We're not here to talk about Formula One. We're here. JD's going to be in the comments. He's going to be all over it. No, we're not here to talk about Formula One. We are here instead to, once again, we haven't done it in a while. We're going to go through our lovely mailbox. We're looking through all of the comments on Spotify, on YouTube, and emails that we have received over the last 22 episodes, I think, is the amount that we're going through. So we're going to have a little look through all of them, and we're going to pick some of our favorite ones out as well. So we are starting off. I've got them all written down. We're starting off in episode 29. Anyone remember what episode 29 was?
Was that your plastic?
It wasn't my plastic. No, that was long ago. Plastic. That was long ago. No, this was actually our last mailbox episode. But we had a comment in the YouTube comments from Justin. People always overlook the fact that the Ogre Runt Punter is 4+ on passing, giving it accurate or a passing stat increase, and it can easily become a 3+ passer. I mean, it's a very solid point. We only consider ogres being used to throw teammate, but you could use your ogre to pass the ball if it's on a 3+. That's not bad.
That isn't bad at all, is it?
It's as good as most passers.
Yeah, it's your average passer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Except he's strength 5 and bonehead, I guess. Okay, I mean, still good for an ogre. We've got to give it credit where it's due.
Yep.
That was the only comment. Well, we did have another comment on Spotify actually. Well, from Kieran.
Wow, that was an in-depth commentary.
It was, wasn't it?
Thank you, Justin.
We had a comment from Kieran as well. Kieran Bates, thanks, Kieran. Didn't think I would be mentioned. Made my day. Keep up the podcast. It makes Thursday listening to Bloodbowl madness. It makes my Thursday listening to Bloodbowl madness, despite the misunderstanding of dwarf teams. I can't remember exactly what we talked about in that episode, but clearly we wronged dwarfs. Thanks for getting in touch, Kieran. I'm glad you liked the shout out. Here's another one.
Thank you. Can I just say thank you, Kieran? And we get a lot of things wrong, so it's just nice to know we are consistent.
Some of these comments I'm going to fly through, and some of them we will have more of a discussion on, I promise. On episode 31, that was when the lovely Stewbacker joined us for his hot takes. Goblin Scott particularly liked his Goblin essay. He said the Goblin essay is chef's kiss. Very much enjoyed Scott's gut. I would recommend, if you are a fan of goblins or interested in getting into goblins, go back and listen to Stewbacker's take on the Goblin team.
Yeah,
it's very, very good. It's a very interesting one, and kind of brought me round to goblins, even though I will never play them. But it's a very good one to listen to. But let's jump forward to episode 32, which was an NDP Christmas, and we had a few comments on this one. First of all, from BB Quack, which is James. Hi, James. NDP Christmas song was not on my 2024 bingo card. I don't think it was on mine, to be honest. Was it on either of yours?
No, and I think that was a classic example, Chris, of what you get up to when you've got too much time on your hands.
Yes.
And when you've had a few glasses of
this is why I've cut down my drinking and joined a gym. Justin said, Chris, you should play Stunties. You can win a Stunty Cup. No. Goblin Scott said, I would like a new FAQ for Christmas. Buff goblins. Interesting question for the two of you. Have you? We all were very much expecting the November FAQ. We didn't get the November FAQ. We're now in April. We're now wondering whether there'll be a May one or a new edition. I haven't missed it. I thought I felt like there was a hole in my life in November, and now I'm like, I was being stupid. Like, maybe we don't need FAQs quite so regularly as we did. We need 6 months. In hindsight, did we need 6 monthly FAQs for this game?
No, I don't think so, because what desperately needs changing? I'm sure there's certain people, goblins in particular, are moaning about it, but it seems to be at the moment quite a balanced game. Is there anything that you know off the top of your head that is completely broken?
The only thing I'd say to that is the previous FAQ was sort of clarified some of the rules about vampires, and then after the Gnome release last year, which would have then coincided with the November FAQ, and answered it. I don't think there are any significant issues around the mechanics and the gameplay of Gnomes, or nothing controversial that springs to mind. So yeah, I think it shows. I know people have their gripes, and we've talked about this with a lot of people on the podcast as well, and the guests, about the state of Blood Bowl and things like passing, etc. But for me, I think it's a good reflection of how healthy the current game and the the format and the structure is. I think there's always tweaks to be done, but I think and goblins to one side and the meta and the balancing, I think it's not in a bad state at the moment.
I think the only thing, I think we were probably all expecting one to include a clarification on Ironheart's skin, because we know that it had been updated with the release of Chorfs into what was and wasn't kind of included. But then there were lots of people asking about foul assists and things and other assists and all these things. And I think the community in general has kind of assumed that absolutely any assist just makes no difference when you've got Ironheart skin. But I think maybe we were expecting a clarification there. But I guess if that was the only thing they had, it's no point putting out a whole revised document on that. I guess also maybe a few people are expecting Skitter to not be too far away from kind of megastar
yeah.
status. Like the amount of times that I have seen a Morg Skitter build in tournaments where they limit the number of megastars, and it basically having the same impact as a Morg Hack Flem kind of roster. That's kind of another one I suppose we were expecting, but maybe you're right. Maybe it does reflect the kind of the positive way the game is, or it reflects what we were all expecting, which is an imminent new release. Let's jump on to then episode 34, Hot Takes. Mr. Luke Baggett joined us, claimed that we were cowards. Phil commented on this one. Hi, Phil. In each box, you should get a piece of paper that shows you how to build each. You get a piece of paper that shows you how to build each team. On the other side, it shows the stats of every player that can play for that team. I believe if it shows a player on that piece of paper, it should be available in the box. Ogre and Halfling should come in the human box set. Blood Spawns in the corn box set, etc. I mean, he's not wrong. I think that is a valid point. I can see why GW don't do it from a financial point of view, especially with the big guys. But it is frustrating for some of the teams where you don't. For the humans, particularly, not getting those 2 extra blitzes in the box is an absolute pain.
Yeah, Tom.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it's there is some of the situations where certain teams can be built out in different varieties in different ways. So there are the potential that you've got too many. Some of them you've actually got too many pieces in there where you're not using them all, because for whatever the reason the build is too expensive to fill them all or whatever. For example, in Necromantic Horrors, you don't really can off the bat field every player in 100,000. But obviously, if you're playing league or something like that, then it's useful to have an equal tournament. So they're probably one of the most complete teams out there where you can do different varieties. But a lot of the other teams, just with one box, you're kind of restricted to one form of play.
I think the challenge, thinking of it from a GW perspective, there's 2 things. One, it's, as you said, Chris, in terms of how do you maximize the revenue stream. And the second thing as well, when they actually design, think about the actual launch process, which would be some of those sprues are like years and decades old in terms of the design. So when they actually constructed went through the design process to create that actual sprue, so therefore you've got to have the tooling, the setup, etc. Are you going to try and you're going to try and, from a manufacturing perspective, you want to get as much absorption back in terms of your cost base on that particular product. As a result, you're going to try and have the maximum amount of life for you. And again, the meta, when maybe some of those things were done, have changed. So if we take, the classic one we all talk about with Skaven, number of gutter runners, it's 2, isn't it?
2 in the box, yeah.
2 in the box, yeah. So if you take the 2 in the box scenario with Skaven, maybe when Skaven, that sprue was particularly launched, which would have been the previous incarnation before 2020, were 2 gutter runners the maximum people were running? Were they running like 2 blitzers, 2 throwers instead? I don't know. But
the worst team has to be Goblins, hasn't it? Because you just don't even get a full team in Goblins.
Yeah, Goblins is a really tricky one because you just get the lineman, and you can kind of homebrew your way through to some weapons there, but that is a real shame that I think it's the teams where you basically have to spend the equivalent of 2 teams worth of money, and I think it's very frustrating with Goblins where you have to buy the weapons separately. It's just as frustrating, if not more, with all the teams where you don't get enough positionals in there and you're buying a whole box for 2 and stuff like that. And I think it works when you've maybe got, I think maybe the kind of the better Blood Bowl community you've got, the better it is, because you can look at things like some of the players that can be utilized in Old World Alliance, Chaos Renegade, stuff like that. You can buy your human box in order to get an extra blitzer or two, or to get a lineman to convert to a blitzer, and then hopefully you've got someone in your community who needs some linemen for some renegades or something like that, you know. But it can be difficult if that's not the case. So yeah, very valid point, Phil. I think it's what we covered in that episode, and we came to the same conclusion. Episode 35, then, secret weapon or not to secret weapon. Goblin Scott got in touch to give us his absolute the words lost my mind, beautiful intelligence, mastermind genius about it. So Goblin Scott said, so ball and chain is his favorite. When it hits something, every move is deadly. It can push you up other models up the pitch or out of tackle zones. It's risky, but 3 dice I choose with dodge on the target normally works. Not all the time. Chainsaws, amazing safety piece. So keep it in the backfield near the sweet spot. It can rush blitz almost anywhere when a runner makes a break for it. Also, only need to roll a 3 on 2d6 against foxes. Much fun. Bombers are hilarious until they fumble, but again are area denial piece, stops opponents caging up. Throw a bomb at something that doesn't have a passing stat to have it auto detonate if it lands on them. I take all of them always. Interesting is I think the way that Scott plays, the way we know Scott plays, where he does this kind of pushing tactic with his ball and chain. I'd be interested if there are any other Goblin coaches out there who would kind of rank them in the same order, whether they would go ball and chain, chainsaw, then bomber. Because I know it very much suits Scott's way of play, but I think some people may find the ball and chain kind of too risky. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. It's not from not being able. I've never really played them apart from Bomber, whereas as a sort of star player, I haven't really played with the ball and chain. So it was an interesting because I actually went up against Scott at the Ipswich Classic, and he completely annihilated me with it. He's got such a good technique and tactics with it. It just does baffle your brains that he's moving his own players by pushing them down the pitch with a ball and chain. I know it'd be interesting to kind of find out, is that I thought they had a bit of a weakness though. Is it the fact is that if they go down, then they're pretty much out for the game?
Yeah, ball and chains are KO'd when they go down, regardless of the result, unless it's worse than a KO. So that does go against them. I guess, yeah, goblins are just such high risk, high reward, aren't they? Like when it works so well, and when it doesn't, it can collapse. You know, someone scores against you very quickly to burn your bribes. If you can't stop that touchdown, you can very quickly find yourself without any of those weapons and just a army of, strength 2 dodgers. So, tricky, but interesting one. I have no intention of playing them, but Scott, you've got some goblins, haven't you?
I do have some goblins, and they are on the to paint up and play list to have a game with them. The one thing, I appreciate the high risk, high reward, and that's why for me it would give me that itch to, can you scratch that itch in terms of what can you do with them? So yeah, up to playing them again. It's that, do you put all of your star players and secret weapons from the first drive off, because we know then what people are going to do. It's going to incentivize people, unless you're playing dwarfs, or it probably even would be incentivizing dwarfs and black orcs to try and score as quickly as possible. Things against elves, Skaven, they're all going to want to score as quickly as possible. Even humans, score, get the star players off the pitch. But the one thing I will say, and I stand by this, I've never not had a fun game against goblins. That's the main thing, and they make you smile. They sort of, we talk about the meta, we talk about our community. They really do help make this community and give it a bit of nice green color.
Yeah, they are definitely the best stunty team, I think, for that. Whereas snotlings just infuriate, and we've all played against those teams, and we're mentioning that you tend to see the classic meta-driven 2 trolls, Morg and Skitter kind of lineup in tournaments now. And apart from that, they don't really bring anything. I suppose they've got the Riotous Rookies, which is a bit of fun, pogoers, and they've also got the fungus flingers as well themselves. But yeah, you haven't got the madness. They don't seem to bring the same kind of crazy madness that goblins do.
Again, I would recommend anybody goes back and listens to episode 31 with Stu Backer and his explanation as to why goblins are the best team in the game, because it really does sum up the good things about goblins and why everyone should try them at least once. Having said that, I'm not going to do it. Episode 36, Blood Bowl Star Wars. We looked at whether Blood Bowl and Star Wars and if they crossed over and what it would be like. Simon Whitehouse got in touch. Enjoyed the episode. I'm currently running a halfling team using the Star Bear team that is basically Ewok proxy team, and I'm loving using them. I've seen every time we go into the shop into Advanced and Dragons in Woodbridge, I see some of the painted Ewoks in the shelf or some of the Star Wars Legion stuff that you can paint. And every time it gives me ideas about a Star Wars based Blood Bowl team. And the go-to normally that I think of is halfling Ewoks. It's kind of the easy go-to when you look at them, and the models are really nice. So if proxies are allowed, I'm definitely on board with that. Phil got in touch. Phil, and now Phil provided us with his Star Wars team that he made, similar to the ones me made, with battle droid linemen, droid Echo blitzers, astromech droid throwers, spherical astromech runners, and an Imperial security droid as a big guy, along with a load of stats abilities and new abilities and all sorts of things in there. It's a very detailed team. Phil, I'm not going to go through it in entirely detail today, but maybe we'll share it on the on Instagram or on Blue Sky, because it's a really well thought out team with different stats and different kind of skill points. There is even a throwable mouse droid as well, or kickable mouse droid as well, with movement 6, strength 1, edge 2, with right stuff, stunty, titchy, dodge, jump up, no hands. So there's everything you want within that team. So we'll share that another time. Episode 37, a league-friendly stomp. Justin kindly reminded us that Skaven can take mutations.
Yep.
Which is a good thing to remember, because that can be really, really quite scary. But let's go on to another one we got. So an episode we got lots of comments on was episode 38, where we were coming up with our own undead collectives. Now, some of these comments were based on the fact that it was quite an interesting topic, which I think it was. Some of them were based on the fact that clearly I just lost complete control of everything and everyone within that episode. Pat got in touch and said, best intro to an episode so far. Probably not something for every week. But goodness me, I needed that. Thank you, gents. You're welcome, Pat, for the chaos that was that intro. Blood Bowl Quack James got in touch. Tom's creations are always unique, really shaking up the Blood Bowl meta. Great episode, iconic intro, the incredulous reaction to Tom's roster, Bone teammate, and Chris's desperate attempts to keep the podcast on track. That sums it up quite nicely. I'd recommend you go back and listen to that one.
Can I just say good morning to Pat. Good evening, good morning, Pat Van der East, Lord Pat of the East. Haven't said that for a while, so
yeah, it's been a while since we've
shouted. I know. I don't want. We need to get more shout outs, and then we don't want people to think we don't care anymore.
No, that's true. Goblin Scott got in touch again on the prospect of a Gremlins team. Taking Heady Brew as the inducement gives them Dauntless and Frenzy to go with Claws, which would be a terrifying mix if you had a kind of bunch of stunty Claws, Frenzy, Dauntless. That is, I've seen him use that Heady Brew, and when it works, Frenzy and Dauntless is incredible. It's another one that when it fails, it absolutely collapses. And Phil said Scott woke up a different person before recording this podcast. So that's just for you, Scott.
Love you, Phil. Thanks.
I'd go back and listen to that one if you want to see my inability to control 3 hooligans. But we'll move on to another episode. Episode 39, to star or not to star. We talked about the kind of cheaper star players. So we discussed Cindy and Bomber and Rodney and a few other ones who were kind of lower cost. Justin came in to remind us that on an ogre team, you can choose Cindy and Bomber as star players. Now, considering you can only take 2-star players, considering what the ogre team does and doesn't lack, and what you maybe need, do either of you think there's a scenario where you would choose to take both Cindy and Bomber? Because there would be a turn in that game where you could throw 3 bombs in one turn.
This would be in League, because obviously Cindy and Bomber are megastars.
Yes, this would be in a league where you are allowed to take more than one megastar.
If I did take them, I probably wouldn't take them at that same time. I'd possibly start with Cindy because she's got the 2 bomb option, and then use her for your first drive or for the first opposition drive if they score early, and then bring Bomber on, because then you've got a backup.
And then maybe not spend the money on bribes, have the kind of split over the 2 halves.
Yeah.
Can you actually throw 2 bombs at the same from 2 different people? Or is that like passing? Because you can only pass once, can't you?
Ooh, is throwing a bomb a
Once,
pass
yeah.
action?
It is, isn't it? Or is it? No, because you can still throw a teammate, can't you?
Can you
Well,
throw
need to look
teammate
at the
and throw
book and
bomb?
FAQs.
Ooh, okay.
Come on, Tom. On the case. Yeah, he'll know by the end of the podcast. Tom will know.
I'll find out.
Right, Tom will find out. But a good reminder, I don't think there's a scenario where I would take both, because I feel like in that team you are missing like to take 2 bombers. Like okay, so I mean, when I play my ogres, I would throw a teammate and kick a teammate. If I'm then throwing a bomb, then throwing another bomb, don't really know what I'm gaining by having the 2 bombers, to be honest. I think what I would rather have is someone who creates a scoring threat. So Carla, Griff, someone else that kind of can be a runner. But good to know. While Tom looks that up, episode 40, we had Andy Davo join us. Now I need to make sure I pronounce this right. Miss OT Vid, I think, which I think is Jane. So hi, Jane, if that is you. I love the idea of Fumble Rooski being a core action and punt. Yes, please. I really like the idea of Fumble Rooski being a core, like just a thing that you can do in the same way that you can just pick up the ball, that you can just put the ball down without penalty. I like that. I guess my worry would be that the passing skill tree is so weird anyway, and you kind of, your passes in the game, a lot of people don't bother with it too much. Making everyone be able to fumble Rooski, does that kind of add to reducing the appeal of some of the passing pieces? What do you think?
So everyone would have Fumble Rooski, so you could just literally run, drop ball, run, drop ball, run, drop ball.
I'm assuming
but it wouldn't be a thing though.
You could only activate it once per.
Okay,
possibly it would
I'm
be like an
assuming.
action, so you could fumble Rooski once per turn, but it wouldn't be a skill. It would just be something anyone could do. So it would be it's quite good, for example, if you like on a kickoff, if the ball were to accidentally fall into the hands of your rot spawn or something like that, being able to kind of drop the ball, move so someone else can get it. I mean, you're doing that instead of a handoff. Is that much better? I don't know, but it's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Can it be a nega trait though? Because do you have to? So obviously, and I don't have the rules in front of me for Fumble Rooski. Do you have to? You obviously got to declare you're moving. Do you have to move? Because otherwise, as you say, if you're rot spawn on line of scrummage, you're not exactly going to dodge out, are you? So all you need to do is I'm moving. Oh no, I'm not, and just leave the ball by the side of me.
No, you have to. So you when you move, you're leaving
the ball
in the square that you've just left.
Cool. Okay, so that makes sense. And so so to that point, that would definitely make it a bit more manageable rather than just having a. But I like the idea of it as a as a definite skill. I'm quite comfortable with it, and I think it's something people need. We will be personally. I'll be looking at it more in terms of the passing tree,
because obviously you've got now, what is it, my ball, isn't it? Which is the fox skill.
Yeah. Which
is obviously the opposite of it, where you're not allowed to give away the ball. You're not allowed to drop it or anything. So I'm assuming if you've got a fox, you can't put Fumble Rooski on a fox.
It'd be interesting if they kept Fumblerooski as a skill, but allowed you to maybe, as your action, place a ball in a vacant square. So the Fumblerooski gains you the ability to move and do it similarly to a blitz, but you can just place the ball behind you if you want to. But then that's your entire action. He wouldn't then be able to move as well. Like that could be an interesting play.
Just to draw the parallels with American football again, though, if in an American football, if you lose possession of the ball, it's not a turnover if you recover the ball, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that means how would you officiate for that? So, so if you put the ball down, does that mean it's a roll off between the people who can pick it up? So, for example, if you put it in a square where there is, the rule state you've got to leave it in the square you're vacating. But if you leave it in a square you're vacating, so you're dodging out of, so there might be one of the opposition player there, but also one of your players there in that particular scenario.
Well, I guess
you
if you're
have to have a
leaving the
roll-off
ball next
between-
to an opposition player,
Well, that'd be stupid. Yeah, I know, but you might tactically want to do it, thinking if I leave the ball there, and then I can blitz that player out of the way, free it up, and then someone else can walk in, pick it up, and go.
Because you don't
If
have
it's in a more advantageous position, that's what I was
because
thinking.
you don't actually have to have anyone come and pick it up in that turn.
You can just go off and block people, especially if you want to stall, Chris.
Yeah, you could literally leave it in the corner by the touch line, and then take that player, run around, and start attacking people.
That's an interesting. Oh,
Anyway,
okay. My mind's going mad with ideas.
But I agree that Fumblerooski's one that I think is going to make more of an or should be looked at more.
Yeah,
I love it.
Before you go on, I've got an answer about the bomber.
Yep.
So, so first of all, no, throwing a bomb is not a pass action in Blood Bowl.
Cool.
And only one bomb can be thrown per team turn, regardless of how many bombers are on the field.
So there's no benefit of taking Cindy and Bomber then,
unless
you want to have a second bomber after the first one has got sent off, if they were to get sent off.
That's true. And actually, Cindy has accurate as well, so you could use Cindy as just a regular passer. You could use her as a regular thrower.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let's move on. Episode 42, we tried to sell you the Skaven team and tell you why you should play them. BB Quack, James, said, Chris with the best take on crisps. That's what I'm here for. I can't remember what my take on crisps was, James, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. And that's it for Skaven. Let's move on. Episode 43 was Don't Trust Us with Your League. That's where we were talking about different kind of new league rules that we might want to bring in or that we think would be interesting ideas. Phil got in touch again. Comment about the draft system. We were talking about possible ways to implement a draft system and how you could maybe have a draft people could pick from. What if each team had an extra 4 spaces, taking you up to 20 in total, for players which could only be recruited from the draft? Doesn't matter what race they are, they would go in that section of the team roster. So that's to get around the fact that if you drafted in a player that took you above, say, 4 gutter runners, if you then drafted a gutter runner in, Phil's suggestion is that every team would have 4 slots, which means in theory you could run 6 war dancers.
That'd be insane.
That's only 750K's worth of value, isn't it? 6 players. And then you got 4 linemen at 28. So yeah, just over $1 million. No rerolls. Yeah.
That's almost like the what is it? Would you rather fight 1 horse-sized duck or 1,000 duck-sized horses?
In that instance, I would take on the 1 horse-sized duck and not the duck-sized horses.
A horse-sized duck is basically a dinosaur.
But 1,000 little dinosaurs.
You could kick them. Oh, actually, there is that scene in The Lost World, isn't it, where he gets... Yeah, actually, okay. Yeah, I was discussing draft systems over about 6 pints with Mr. Luke Bagger on Friday, and it's a really odd one to kind of get right. And I think what you probably need is basically people to commit to 2 seasons. I think you basically need to run 2 short seasons or 2 half seasons where you create players in the first half and you draft them in the second. I think that's probably like, and I think you need people to commit to it over that time frame for it to really work, because otherwise I think it could be kind of a bit weird or unfair or unbalanced. Whereas if everyone kind of commits to that narrative, I think it works better.
Yeah, you could make it really American footballized. Have a draft day where if you've got a team, you have to give one of your team players away and put it in the draft list. Others have to bid for it. You could do something like that, couldn't you?
I think
would be funny though if you added a random element in there that for some player that maybe their coach, maybe their agent is not happy with the coach and therefore decides they're going to put them in the draft anyway.
Yeah, that'd be good. You all build out your team, and then you have to roll a D16 to see who leaves.
Who gets drafted,
and then other people roll to see if they get it.
So moving on to episode 44, Secret Weapon Workshop. Pat commented, now this was in relation to the secret weapon where, now I believe, Scott, this is related to yours. And it was around chucking players. You can make the yeet distance 2d6 minus the strength of the surfed player. If it ends up below 1, they go back into the crowd. So
this is Tom's actually.
Tom, was this yours?
I
Was
think
this around
yours,
surfing
Tom,
players and they get chucked back in?
So you can lob them back in. Yeah.
So making it 2d6 minus the strength, increasing the chance that they go back in the crowd, making them, I think it's an interesting chat. That was that I like the idea of there being a chance that your player gets chucked back in after they're served, actually. Let's move on though to linemen. Linemen, we discussed what we thought the best linemen were, and we had quite a few people comment on this one. David, a former Hot Takes guest. Hi, David.
Hello, David.
As a amateur nobility player, the linemen are terrible, but you get to yell fend every time someone blocks them, which is delightful and one of the main reasons to play them. Can be like I've been at a few different tournaments where I've seen that happening. Can be very frustrating when fend works, but fundamentally those linemen are not great.
You almost need to have a glove as well on the side, so when you do it, you go fend and you slap your opponent.
It's like the gauntlet, literally, metaphorically being thrown out or in the face.
Toki 2012 said Beastmen are great, strength 4 blitzers, and you can build them to be great in any role. I stand by that. They're one of the best ones. No surprise here. Goblin Scott said the Goblin linemen are solid, 40k dodge, stunty armor 8, and strength 2. So strong and most durable tier 3 stunty. They get my vote. I don't think that surprises anyone, Scott. And we had an email from Jonah Christensen. The best rank 1 linemen are dwarves, and it is no question. Want to dodge out? No, not with that free reroll. You don't. Oh, you have dodge? I don't care. Stumble into POW. Oh, both down. That's a shame. I guess it's my turn. Only speed 4. That's just 1 less than Orc lineman, and he got honorable mention. 70k is a steal, and 2 linemen are worth more than a death roller. A great team to learn positions, not just, oops, I deployed wrong, guess I have to move, and I will claim that trophy for asking about dwarfs first. Best stunty is the Noblar for ogres. They're free. They don't add to your team value, but you do have to pay for them. I have 8 of them at home. You can throw them, you can kick them. They move the same speed of the big guys, and sidestep plus dodge means 90%. So long as it wasn't a blitzer with block, you just threw another goblin next to your ogre to force them to make a 2 dice uphill block. I accept no arguments, for I am right. I think I disagree with both. I don't like the dwarfs. Yeah, we didn't mention dwarfs. We should have mentioned dwarfs. And dwarfs have tackle and block, and they're armor 10, and they are phenomenal as far as linemen go. But do you want to be that guy?
Some people do.
Some people do.
I guess so. And on the stunty side, I don't know. Like Noblars do have their place, to be fair, but not sure. Episode 46, we had BB Nut on talking about his hot takes. Rick Reckless got in touch and said NAF's role is to allow us to play Slan. All the best, chaps. I mean, we've had a few people on this podcast who I think have said that they just want Slan to go away. I've yet to kind of use them, but I would like them to stick around. What do you guys think?
They're an interesting one. I've never played against them. I've only ever seen them obviously at tournaments. I've never seen them in league. I don't really know enough about them to really make a proper opinion.
Jumpy frogs, basically.
Okay.
So we talked about the Ewok teddy bear type halflings. These are the jumpy frog stunties.
It's the full Kermit team, isn't it? You're going full Kermit. You're felting them. You're going full Kermit. They're going to be called the Rainbow Connection, and they're going to be incredible.
And they're all going to have ukuleles.
They're all going to have, they're all going to be on logs with ukuleles.
Or halfway down the stairs.
That is a fantastic reference, Tom. Bravo. Bravo.
I just had a random image popped into my mind of having this this host of this Blood Bowl team of frogs with a pig's head as a mascot.
And your star player is Fuzzy Bear with a chainsaw.
I did play someone at a tournament who had a full Muppets team fully painted. It was incredible. It was brilliant. It looked so good, and he had his dugout. He brought his own dugout, which was a whole Muppet theatre. And Miss Piggy doesn't come with a Miss Piggy ogre model, but he did have a big Miss Piggy big guy model, which I'm reliably informed was a old McDonald's Happy Meal toy that he had bought and painted. And it was incredible.
I love our community.
It was so good. Episode 47, we talked about the Ipswich Classic. Adam Parkhouse got in touch and said, thanks for a great day out. Nice to put faces to voices. Looking forward to an inevitable game against Tom now that he's played Chris, myself and Scott. Sorry I couldn't roll more interesting dice to make our game a bit more competitive, Chris, but at least I got to try and leap a hobbo that nearly made up for all of the skulls. He did leap a hobgoblin. I don't believe it worked, but he got very unfortunate with his dice. But it was good to play him. So Tom, you're going to have to try and find an excuse to get a game against Adam in an upcoming tournament.
I think if we're doing the East Anglian this year, hopefully Adam will be there.
Yes, that's a good point. Episode 48 was on superstitions, and Toki 2012 got in touch again saying, I bet Scott doesn't believe in aliens.
Depends on your definition of aliens. If you think it's little green men in flying saucers, no. If you think it's some sort of biological molecular level structure, yeah. Statistically, there is going to be life out there. We're now discovering all the exoplanets, etc. But no, come on. Think about it, guys. Think. It's a numbers game. Space is big. We're very little. Space is big.
Goblin Scott got in touch again, saying, I have a pre-game ritual, not a superstition as much, but I always listen to some Necrogoblicon, before a game. Win or lose, at least I had some goblin-fronted heavy metal to keep me going. Oh, and always use the team dice, official goblin dice for goblins, always. That's fair. Take that. That's a good, fair point. Episode 49, we did another league-friendly stomp. Justin got in touch. Hello, Justin. To let us know his order. He went for Orcs for the league, solid and well-balanced. Vampires for a friendly. Some risk, but potential glory and lots more thinking. Stomp on Necro. Slow big guys and linemen. Fast positionals. Too easy to have your team split apart.
I love a bit of controversy. So basically, Tom, Justin is saying Necro shit. Discuss.
Basically.
It's interesting. None of us thought to stomp on Necro. And there are lots of reasons to stomp on them, aren't there? Because he's right. Your team can get split up very easily. Your linemen aren't going anywhere. They're very expensive. There are lots of reasons not to like them. But I think they're just too interesting, clearly.
Yeah, I like the challenge, you know.
And finally, last week we looked at various stats that have come to tour play, and we got a few comments on this as well. James Bloodbowl Quack said, "I am really glad I manually worked out the most taken star players before this update came out." Great use of your time, James, and I hope you enjoyed it. Goblin Scott said, "Love that my star player bingo cage bollock skewed the statistics."
Yep.
Yeah, it did. I think when you look at it, I think it does properly skew it. And Simon Whitehouse reminded us that a rookie on tour play is someone who is brand new to that race, but not necessarily a brand new coach, which I think is still an interesting statistic to look at, because you are considering like who are coaches who are here with a team they've played before. But even that's not necessarily correct, because I think it is probably rookies by the end of the season. It's how the season ends. And so the people who are rookies have not developed the team enough through tour play or played enough to get to the higher stage. But there could be some rookies who have already got them way to veteran sort of in one season. So interesting kind of to see the split there. The last thing I have then is an email that isn't related to one of the points, but it is an email from Phil. Howdy, NDP crew. I created a big guy for Elven Union, called it the Terracotta Deity. Cost 170,000, movement 8, strength 6, agility 2, passings blank, armor 3+. Traits are Mighty Blow +2, No Hands, Hypnotic Gaze, Jump Up, Divinity, Parasitic Armor, Ancient Healing, and Slow Start. So a bunch of new traits here to go over. Divinity trait. When the Terracotta Deity has a successful block made against it, only an armor roll is made. If the armor roll is successful, the deity is knocked down into several pieces. If the armor roll fails, Terracotta Deity remains standing, and no more blocks can be made against it for that turn. Divinity prevents fouls being made against this player. Divinity also prevents fouls against any player on the same team within 1 square, as long as the player with this skill is standing. Now that is the most overpowered. Like, I get you don't roll the block dice; you're immediately rolling to break a 3+ armor. But
so if you did, so for example, you're going to be 2 die uphill most of the time against
3 die, sorry, 3+, Chris, yeah?
on the armor.
3+ on the armor, yeah. But it says if it has a successful block, only an armor roll is made. Oh, so actually, so you succeed on the block, but okay, right, I understand now.
Let's do this. So if I do a 2 die uphill on it, which is because it's an armored 6, won't it? So if you
What? No, so what's the strength? Sorry.
Strength
is 6.
Okay, so it's more likely you're going to have the 2 dice uphill.
2 die uphill. So I'll roll 2. I've got 2 die.
You're doing a dice-related test for this big guy, and we're letting you roll the dice, Tom.
Double
right.
style in there. It's going to be.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, got 2 stumbles. So has it got dodge?
Okay, it doesn't have dodge, no. So it goes down.
Right. So and I've got a break armor on a 3+.
So you're only rolling armor, but so it hasn't necessarily gone down yet. So you have to roll a 3+ in order to break armor.
I got 4. got my 1 and 3.
Okay, so then it is knocked down into several pieces.
Okay.
It can't be fouled, so it can't. So this is a big guy that can never. If it can't be fouled, you're never rolling an injury roll. So this big guy will never go anywhere.
Does it put itself back together again on its turn then?
It can do, and it's got jump up, yeah.
What's his movement, sorry, Chris?
8.
Wow.
Add 2.
That's ridiculous. That'll just go around the board and sit there, and that's a perfect screening device, isn't it? Just put it in
it's strength 6. It's too overpowered, and it's 170,000.
Yeah. Well, there's more skills here. There's parasitic armor. The armor value of a player with parasitic armor increases by the amount of players from the same team that are within 1 square, regardless of whether those players are standing. Right?
That's just ridiculous.
So you could put 8 players around it, increasing it up to armor 11, right? And it's still only worth 170. Yeah. And then all of those players around it, while this player is up, cannot be fouled.
I think I like the idea, Phil, of a terracotta based sort of thing. I think it was it Ben BB Nut when we had him on and we talked about future possible releases and teams. We talked about Cathay and we talked about having a terracotta giant there as a big guy.
Yeah.
And I think some of this elements fits into that sort of narrative quite a nicely one as well.
So we've
I
got
think you'd be
two
very
mega traits
unpopular.
here. We've got
Yeah.
two mega traits here. Ancient healing. If knocked down, this player takes 2 turns to stand up. So it can never be knocked out or anything like that. It's only ever collapsing, but it will always take 2 turns to stand. And slow start. This player can only move half distance and can't block or blitz on the first turn of a half, including extra time. Now, as far as nega traits go, yeah, the ancient healing I get, it doesn't outweigh those stats.
Not
And
with
slow
movement.
start, I think, is it's not affecting you too often. So I don't
Not
think
with
it's that
movement
bad.
8 and jump up. That's just ridiculous because it doesn't really matter. You're just like, well, okay, it's down for 2
And
turns.
edge 2.
And edge 2.
It's
Yeah.
jumping up, dodging out on a 2 with strength 6 to move 8 and blitz. Absolutely not.
And then,
Absolutely
and
not.
then
Not
kill
for
your big guy.
170.
Yeah.
That's we're talking it's got to start with a 3. It's got to be in the 300s this star, surely.
Oh, easily.
Absolute madness. Well, on
Anyway.
on that moment of rage, that is all that's more or less all the comments. Thank you to everybody who's commented on commented on these on Spotify, commented on YouTube, sent us an email, anything like that. We do love it all. We want all of your Blood Bowl related stories, anecdotes, anything like that. Please do continue to send them in, and we will get round to doing more of these in the future as well. If anybody does want to get in touch, if you have heard this and you want to get your story read out, you want to tell us about things, we may not do it for a few weeks, but we will eventually do it. Mr. Scott Bryant, how do people get in touch with us?
Chris, if people want to get in touch with us, whether or not they want to share their anecdotes, share their wish list for Blood Bowl, whether or not they would like a shout out, whether they are a bit of a regular royalty of listener, sort of the Lord Pat Van der East, or someone who keeps us motivated to be aspirational, like the delightful John Reader, people can get hold of us. So they can email us, all one word. It can be lower or upper or mixed case. So that's newdiceplease@gmail.com. So within the Blood Bowl community, we do like people who are lowercase. We do like people who are uppercase. And we do like people who are mixed case. If you want to email us at newdiceplease@gmail.com. But remember, just on a very sensitive topic as well. It's something, people, particularly, guys and people in our community don't necessarily talk about enough. But, listen, we are here to help. So if you have a problem with something like Comic Sans, then let us know and we will laugh and try not to laugh. We're there. But if you do want to move away from Comic Sans and improve your life, Tom, if people want to improve themselves a little bit more with a little bit more of this idiocy, how can they do that?
Yeah, sure. So you can also get us on our socials. So we're on Instagram and Blue Sky under New Dice Please. We're also obviously on YouTube under Blood Bowl Live, and we also got New Dice Please on Blood Bowl as well, on YouTube as well. And then finally, you can obviously get us all on the podcasts. So yeah, please come and enjoy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bryant. Thank you very much, Mr. Hovell. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We have been New Dice Please, and we will see you next time.